Shut up about my nip. That's it. You're dying for my nipples.
I'm just gonna harass you with a pistol.
And
now I'm gonna get serious.
So, Jason, what did you think of the sound?
The sound... Hold on. Gotta kill Josh. Josh.
I like the Juggernaut.
It's right behind you.
Oh, where'd you go, bitch? This is how I suck at this game. Wait,
where's this? There we go.
Where does he see me? What did I think of the sound? I thought... Yeah, like, I've said it already, where... I'll just go for a swim.
Now I'm the Juggernaut. My lord.
The sound, yeah, I'd be beating a dead horse. I do agree that the original sound really didn't stand out for me. The music is epic. We all know it is. It's a thing of legend for video games, especially if you're an audiophile. But I agree. I want to bounce off what Josh was saying about aliens shouldn't talk English or shouldn't speak English. White boys can't speak English, to the best of my knowledge. So, but yeah, the voice work in this game leads me to other questions down the road. But I didn't hear anything in the vocal performances that made me think, wow, this is such a compelling and engrossing story experience.
Although I do want to point out too that there was some special care put into the voice acting, because they ended up I don't know, I can't remember in the first one. I know there was a few celebrities who snuck in, but NPCs didn't have a lot of talking. It was in the second one, in the franchise overall, they started to really hire and feature professional talent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because I think this was the first franchise, correct me if I'm wrong, that really hit that kind of pop culture status where it became a big thing. Nowadays, when you look at like games like Call of Duty, where almost every character that's featured in Call of Duty is some form of celebrity. Yeah. You know, you have Michael Rooker showing up at times. You have the dude from Avatar. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he starred in Black Ops. So all these big name people are creating the voices for all these pop culture games that come out, and Halo was definitely one of the first to kind of bring that talent on board. But yeah, we're going to jump off of there just for a second, and I want to talk about story, and going from audio, especially voice acting, into story is a good transition here. So since these guys are playing, Cory, I'll start off with you. What was your opinion of Halo's story?
I remember it, back when the game was first released, I remembered it being a lot more epic than it actually is. Mm-hmm. It's really compelling, and I mean the idea of the Halo is a pretty pervasive one. It's sort of a it has weight to it.
Yeah.
But the way the story's presented, it almost feels like the story's more or less just a skin for this game. Mm. And if I'm being honest, like, Halo as a franchise has its ups and downs, right? I don't really think, in my personal opinion, most people are playing Halo for the story.
No.
It's the multiplayer, the single player experience, and later on in the franchise, the co-op experiences. That's where the meat of the game is and always has been.
Yeah. So, well, you know what? I'll get to that question in a second. I'm going to toss it over to one of you guys who can talk in game at the same time better. Yeah, go for it, Josh. Storyline. What was your opinion?
Yeah, like you said, it wasn't that epic. I've seen better stories.
Neat ideas.
Nifty ideas. But as far as like, I understand what they like. Maybe for the time that this game came out, it was as epic as they could possibly make it, given what kind of graphic limitations they had. But I don't know. It didn't catch me as much as let's say Resistance. Resistance I love. In comparison, when did this game come out?
2000?
2001.
Okay, when did Resistance come out?
2006.
Oh, okay. So there is a bit of a gap there. And,
yeah.
Like,
it was about 5 years. It's a whole generation gap.
This was like on Xbox, the original. Right?
This was like the premier title for Xbox when it was announced. Like, Xbox came out, shit. Bam, Halo. And same with Resistance. When PlayStation 3 came out, bam, Resistance. So they were both kind of launch titles for their time.
Yeah. Well, you do see a difference in But you look at any of the older games, the like your Tomb Raiders and all that other stuff. Like you thought those stories were completely epic, like, and then you kind of look back and they weren't anything they don't seem like anything too special.
Yeah.
But there is a game that will always be an epic tale for me. That was on PlayStation 1, and that's Metal Gear Solid. And so, oh shit, you see? No, you can't back up and fire with this gun.
I didn't make a joke on
This is why I switched. I wanted a challenge. I need a better gun before he fights me.
So Dino, what is your take on the story of Halo?
Yeah.
I agree. It's not the most epic. For an FPS, it blew me away. That's what got me the first time.
There's scope to it,
To me, FPSs before that were very much just, okay, here's an arena, go shoot some stuff, or here's a loose story, but a crappy FPS. And to me, this was the first time it was like fantastic controls, exactly how I want it to feel.
Now,
and a story to go with that.
I have to jump in.
Sure.
Because I want to ask a question. Only my question is, which came out first, Halo or Half-Life?
Oh, Half-Life.
I believe Half-Life was 2000 in 1999, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm gonna
Or
say
That being said, there's nothing saying any of us played it first, right?
I didn't play Half-Life first. I definitely didn't. And that's probably what it is Half-Life probably did, you're correct, probably did set the standard there, and they're like, hey, Microsoft was all over that, so...
But let's be honest, I mean, PC was doing first-person shooters way before it ever hit the consoles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
well,
sure.
So,
Whoa, and
that's my move. Drowning. Yes. Wins every time.
What are you drowning in?
Wait.
Water.
Fluids, typically. Yeah.
Sometimes sand, but that's harder.
You can jump like 50 feet,
here,
but you
right
can't swim. Hey?
Yeah.
Well, you're wearing a suit of armor.
So it weighs you down,
Yeah, but
Technology,
it's not like
it's
like a fresh air supply.
Doesn't the suit allow him to travel short distances in space?
I don't
not in
write
the
these
water.
things, man. The one thing I will say about the storyline is that, honestly, it was the baffling thing about Halo for me. Is that, like, this is back, like, when... What are you doing to my stuff?
Just
Testing it.
set up a match.
He wanted to rage quit, that's what it was. That's the one thing, is like...
Nobody wants that one.
I just don't want to get it.
Good
Whatever.
grief,
Sorry.
people, it's just a controller.
It even smells bad. I'm just kidding.
Oh, get up!
What kind of games have you been playing?
Leisure Suit Larry? No. But no, the one thing I will say about the storyline is, what are you guys doing here?
Now he wants it. Okay, switch.
No, you told me you weren't doing anything, so...
I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to use an Xbox controller. It's weird to me.
Slayer.
Pew pew.
Classic Slayer?
That's what we were doing.
Yes.
SWAT.
Slayer Pro?
What's that?
Who knows?
I don't know, but you're a pro.
Change the map.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
thank
Let's
you.
get a different map going on.
High noon.
High noon.
Yes, high
Hey,
noon.
no one wants...
When you call it
No, high noon. We just...
when you call something high noon, you have to live up to the expectations of it being high noon.
Oh, they don't have all the maps on.
Hang 'em high. Anniversary.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Go for the anniversary.
Cool, cool.
No. I don't care.
Such wusses.
Oh, that's funny.
So, anyway.
What is
Be-
it? B.
Oh, good
The
grief.
red one. There you go. Again.
Oh, you mean circle. Gotcha. Now what?
This might have been a bad
That
idea.
was awesome.
This, I'm kind of regretting this
Oh,
decision.
why'd you give me this controller?
For
Man.
Holy
gosh.
crap, go
Oh,
down
there
to where it
it
says
says
start
start
game.
game.
Yes. And
There
then
you
hit
have
A.
it.
There you go.
I
Wow.
love playing Halo.
Wow. Okay, so, as I'll continue, my opinion on the story is that I don't get what the big deal was.
Yeah.
You know? Like, keep in mind, this is, like, it was just in this last year, folks, that I started playing multiplayer matches and multiplayer games. I had never touched it before, and I didn't realize that that was the big draw for Halo. So playing it back when I did, I thought it was all about the storyline. And following the story, I didn't quite understand what the big deal was. Like, yeah, it's got a cool concept, this Halo ring, and that's a cool little thing. But yeah, then you're fighting all these, like, pyramid-looking Ewoks, and it just made no sense. I thought this was supposed to be a game with respectability and clout, because this was a game that made gamers cry at one point. And I was waiting for that. Like, oh my god, an action sci-fi game that will actually emote a little bit? I was excited. There was none of that.
No. The story in places is an excuse to send waves and waves and waves of slightly different color, of the same enemies with different color palettes at you.
I agree.
That's all it is.
Same weaponry.
Yeah.
They needed to create a greater variation of enemies.
And thankfully, like, as the series goes on, I know we're supposed to just be discussing this
game.
game.
Did you guys ever make it to the Flood?
Oh, I finished the whole game. I finished the entire trilogy, bud. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Flood is
Flood. I love the
Flood.
Flood
Is what changes the game.
The Flood is great, and I'd be hard pressed to think of anything else that was intriguing about this game other than the Flood. Because every other enemy were just annoying and predictable almost. You know?
Almost like it was just like it could have either been the humans or the aliens at any given time. Like, just a fight, nothing real special.
Interchangeable.
Yeah.
So, and like, to be honest, and even to, the most recent entry in the Halo franchise, hardly ever do I want to switch weapons. Like, the assault rifle that you're given is such a badass and perfect feeling gun that I never want to do whatever rifle this is. I don't want to do the sniper one. I don't want to do ever the handgun. And the sword thing, it just made things a little too easy for me, you know? So, I don't know, I couldn't understand what was the driving force behind this thing. And I thought it was the storyline, but it just didn't grab me for whatever reason. It wasn't horrible compared to games that were out at that time, but it wasn't the compelling thing that I thought it was supposed to be.
I think it was the trifecta. They got the graphics, they got the gameplay, they got the sound. And then I think the story that made the story seem better, if that's possible.
Yeah.
Little starstruck by the whole experience, and then you on top of that get a fairly decent or a half decent story at the very least.
Yeah.
Well, and again, thinking back to the time, we are again, like, Halo came out just at the point where games were starting to have legitimate stories across the board, where it wasn't just about Pac-Man eating pellets or Save the Princess, right? Where they were actually spending money on the production values of a game.
Yeah.
Like this. So.
Yeah. I mean, 2 years prior to this... What, that?
I forgot Ready Player One at home. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. Excellent book, by the way. Keep in mind, like, 2 years prior to this game, we had the release of Final Fantasy VIII. A couple of years before that, we had Final Fantasy VII. So, I had those games to kind of compare it to, you know? So when people are saying, oh my god, the story, and I'm thinking Final Fantasy story, you know, this kind of paled in comparison with that. So yeah, it was around the time where games were having big production values. I think this particular game spent it in different areas, you know?
Well, I mean, like, I appreciate the fact that the story has some far-reaching scope.
Yeah.
I appreciate that it's this big blockbuster behemoth of a story, and that we're supposedly casting roles of in the role of the one guy who can make a difference.
Yeah.
I like that, and there are parts of the game that are really cool because it feels that way. But by and large, like I said, the story itself gets drawn out quite a bit across the franchise. Certainly by, like, I know we're only talking about this one, but certainly by Halo 3, I don't really know what's going on with the story anymore.
I have...
You know, it doesn't really make a big difference because it's still just Master Chief killing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Halo 2 was a strong point in the series for me. And Halo 2 had a secondary main character called the Arbiter. And the Arbiter was, you know, it changed the gameplay because now you're playing from the alien side of things.
Yeah.
And that gave the story, again, some more, you know, some variation. But it really all is just, you know, just the glue that gets the levels all in an order.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I will say, just as a saving grace for the Halo franchise, I may not have gotten invested in it too much in 1, 2, 3, but I will say Halo 4 is the first Halo game where it packed a punch.
Halo Reach 2 was very good.
That's on the docket for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that'll bring me to the next section, which we have been doing nonstop for this entire Game of the Month, is the gameplay. All right? So, Dino, I'm going to start you off with the gameplay section. What are your thoughts of Halo 1?
And I've said this since the first time I played it, and I'll say it again. It feels like I want it to feel. When I turn the analog sticks, it moves at a speed that is completely acceptable to me. And that's changeable. You can make that faster or slower in the options.
Was that not a thing you could do in other first-person shooters?
I'm sure you could, but you still, not all first-person shooters, that's for sure. Most of them you could. The way they treated gravity in the game as something that's kind of there, and like the way you can jump a little bit higher, and the believability is that you're kind of in space. I like.
And you're wearing a mech suit.
Exactly, you're wearing this mech suit, and so I like that extra high jump that you won't find in other games, because how do you write into the game that your player or your character can jump as high as a human? In this game, it just makes sense. It works.
Yeah.
And it's fun because it's a mechanic that you can use to jump on different terrain and traverse the area. And being able to jump so high actually makes it harder for you to be hit as a target. I love the gameplay. That's probably the shining feature of this game, is the engine and the gameplay.
Cool.
It's fantastic. And even here we are, 12 years later, and it just holds up. That's the best way I can state it, and that should be a compliment unto itself.
Yeah.
Is 12 years later, it completely holds up.
Cory, you want to take a shot at this?
I agree with Dean. The gameplay shines. It is one of those games that just across the board, it just feels good to play. It's very responsive. The graphics do a good job of representing what's going on scene, on screen. It's and everybody understands. Like there's sort of this universal understanding of how the game plays in Halo, and it's not overly complex. You get two guns, you can switch between them. You have a melee attack. In this one, I think you have a flashlight. You have a sprint, and you jump kind of high, and you have armor and health that regenerates.
Yeah.
It's compared to a lot of shooters at the time too. It was stripped down. Like the Xbox at launch was capable of giving us more than this, but they took what worked and what was elegant and fun, and they built the game around it. And I mean, it obviously worked because people are still playing it today. They built a whole franchise around it. And the multiplayer is hugely infectious, and the thing the game is known for. It's not the story. Nobody thinks of the story, but people remember these epic, all-nighters in their dorm room, playing Halo against 700 people, kind of thing.
Where do I get ammo?
Now,
I don't know. There might not be any lying around.
Looks like.
oh, you're like empty, dude.
I
Wow.
haven't died yet.
Oh.
But we've been duking it out with our shields.
Yeah,
and
I've
crap.
been watching. It's impressive.
Okay, here we go. Where was Brent when I need it? Health.
Are you going to be able to talk about
How
this,
does
Josh,
one-
as you go?
What would you like me to talk about?
The gameplay.
Yeah, sure. You can. Okay, the gameplay is actually. This is a new side of Halo for me. This is the side I'm actually really enjoying. This kind of reminds me of childhood a little bit, playing Bond.
Yeah.
Because games like Battlefield, which I love, you don't get that sitting right next to your buddy kind of experience like we are getting right now. This is a heck of a lot of fun, and there's a lot of camaraderie that you can have with it. Whereas, the first-person shooters nowadays seem to be getting further and further away from that.
Yeah.
You don't even have that option anymore, which I think is a shame. Because really sitting down with friends is what I find gaming should be kind of all about.
It's always been one of my biggest complaints about Call of Duty was why can't I just play against my friend on the TV?
Yeah.
Well, you can. You can.
I didn't think you could do split screen against each other.
Yeah, on COD, Black Ops 2 you could. I know that.
I'm talking Modern Warfare 2.
Modern Warfare 2? I'm pretty sure that they had that option. Like, because I used to be a COD fan, and we used to do that all the time. Like, me and my brothers, we would just sit down and pwn each other. It was a lot of fun. And you could have, like, up to 4... Well, you could split it 4 screen, right? Which is...
Yeah.
Like your,
same with this.
Yeah, exactly. So,
see, I would think that would be odd if they would take something like this away, because I mean,
well, Battlefield did. Like Battlefield doesn't have that option, and I think that's a little bit of a shame. But they do have a pretty solid multiplayer that they're trying to make it a team-based game.
Battlefield was never about 4 people going to do something. It was always about 30 people versus 30 people.
Yeah, and then get tactical, and I understand that it's individual, but they had like a co-op option where there were specific co-op missions for the game, which were fun for a while, and then you stop doing it. But you can't be like, hey, let's call up my buddies. Hey, you guys want to just chill, have some beers, and play Battlefield against each other? You would need 4 different TVs and a really decent internet connection to do that.
Jumping back, because you are the guy that you're very particular about what kind of first-person shooter you're into and how immersive it is. How does this stack up? Like, you feel this?
It's a game of its own. So, and it's new to me. I could see me playing it only if I had a group of friends that I could actually interact with that I know. I don't think I would want to play this against the general public so much. I don't think it interests me enough. I think it's kind of cool, all these guns and all this stuff. But like you say, once a game has been thoroughly played and there are people that are just like so much better than you in so many different ways, and you're just trying to get into like the multiplayer, and you're not really it's hard to enjoy once everyone is battle ready and you're not, and you can't even get into a vehicle. You can't actually enjoy any of the elements of the game.
When you still have to okay, what button does what now, and boom.
And it's the same for any first person shooter. They have the set map. There's no what would be really cool actually would be like some kind of random map generator that has a different scenario every single time. But I think that's at least a decade away before anything like that happens.
Sounds a bit like Payday the Heist.
Just
saying.
Well, yeah, that's true. It's a little different every time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like this game, it's cool. But I don't think I would want to pay Xbox Live.
No.
I wouldn't pay for the Xbox Live to play it. I know that.
Yeah.
I'll stick with my PlayStation. Thank you very much.
For sure. Yeah, so I think this kind of bleeds into my next question here. I'm just going to double check.
Like he knows this, man.
I don't know anything about this game. I don't know what weapons.
What's this?
Oh, vehicles.
Vehicle.
Cool.
There you go.
It doesn't really do me much good. I can't shoot anything.
Oh, vehicle versus vehicle. This is going to be fun.
What's this?
You can just try and run each other over.
Oh, is this a shotgun?
So, yeah, the next question I'm going to fire out. We've kind of talked about the series narrative, and we've kind of established that it's not necessarily the story that made this game so popular and so addictive. Sure, Master Chief is, he's very recognizable. He's pretty much the Xbox mascot, much like Mario is for Nintendo, and I guess Nathan Drake or Kratos is for PlayStation nowadays.
Which used to be Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. It's funny how it changes. So, not necessarily the storyline, but, okay, so the multiplayer functionality of this. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, this particular game didn't have online multiplayer. as we know it today.
No, it had like you could do system link. That was the best you could do.
That was.
And
the
if you
first
were
one.
really smart, you could do it over the internet.
Okay, cool. So here's the question then: for what it offered at the time, what made this multiplayer kind of experience so much more compelling than all the other experiences that were available out there? Like, I think at that time Diablo 2 was around and you could do that. I'm pretty sure there were some like Half-Life mods at that time where you could do deathmatch kind of things. So why did this stand out from the rest so much?
Propaganda. Hey, Microsoft had a lot of money, and this was like the first time I think I saw a commercial for a video game. They hyped the crap out of this game.
See, I sort of remember it a little differently.
Oh, really?
I'm super willing to admit I'm wrong on it, but I seem to recall that this game caught a bit of fire. That it was, once it was started to get shown off, people really responded to the game because it was so pretty for the time and smooth, and it was just sort of like it wasn't. I do remember people talking. I mean, I'm basing this off of back in the day. We still read gaming magazines, right? It wasn't just about going to websites. We still read gaming magazines. And I remember reading in magazines that it was not that it was reinventing the wheel, but that it was taking everything that people liked about FPSs and putting it into a single package.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, there was a hell of a lot of hype about it too.
Yeah.
Whether that came before or after, I don't know.
Because I remember, like, before Halo ever came out, I remember hearing about GoldenEye back in the day, you know? And how that was such a compelling experience. And then GoldenEye is looked back on fondly by many gamers nowadays, but not as much as this game. So I'm baffled as to what it was exactly that made it so much more compelling than these other kind of games.
I think when I talk about... I say propaganda, and I think it holds true with what Cory's saying too, is it didn't get a great start, but Microsoft didn't care, and they kept on ramming it down everyone's throats. And finally, people started to respond to it. And maybe that was there was a reason for that. Maybe the people at Microsoft were like, this game is fantastic, why don't you guys play it? So maybe there was some logic in that regards. Maybe that's why they pushed it so much. But I honestly feel like I wasn't that sold on the game, and I had to be coerced and convinced to really give it a chance before I did figure out, like, after a couple levels, like, okay, I see why it's fun. And then I played some multiplayer. I was like, wow, this is fun.
Yeah, there you go.
Holy.
Yeah, it was the multiplayer that hooked me too. Like, it wasn't. I didn't get. I get the appeal of the game, but not in such a large way. Yeah. Like, it's certainly not interesting enough for me to want to be playing it today. I never picked up a copy of Halo 1. I had Halo 2, but I finished it right away, and that was the end of it.
Yeah.
But it was it's those late night sessions with, 2 Xboxes hooked up together and 8 people playing.
At the lake or whatever.
At the lake or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are, sitting on the couch with my buddies playing. That's what I remember. And I remember it in the same way that I have as much fun playing Settlers of Catan at a table, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
It's a game that is easy to understand. And that, there's, as long as everybody's on sort of the same level with it, there's a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of fun to be had.
Oh, for sure. Josh, what about you, man? You've played quite a bit of multiplayer. How does this stack up so far?
Well, so far I haven't actually had the full-on multiplayer experience, an epic battle between...
But to be fair, I'm guessing this is pretty much what you would have experienced back in the original Halo time. Right?
Yeah, it is, for sure. I know.